and we are very curious to listen to your Federalist perspectives. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Istvan, and good morning, everybody. I'm Yannis Karamitsios. I come from Greece, but for the last 16 years I work in Brussels, and I live there. I work for the European Union, for the European Commission. But as Istvan mentioned, I'm here in my capacity as an active federalist. I believe very much in the spirit of united Europe, ever more integrated Europe. So having been active, especially since 2016, since then I have been drafting something that was originally intended as a manifesto, then it became a book. It's this book called Time for a European Federation. It was published just 1 month before the Russian attack against Ukraine. And the book more or less summarizes the existential challenges that our continent is facing in this century. And it argues that the only way to address those challenges is that we develop from European Union that we are today into a sovereign federal European state. The book starts with identifying 5 existential challenges which are even more acute this year. I would summarize them as, first of all, that as a continent we are getting less economically developed than the rest of the world. Second, we run the challenge of climate crisis and food security that goes together with the climate crisis. Third, energy insecurity. We are not energy sufficient, and this is something that we have witnessed very lively this year. Fourth is our demographic stagnation. While the rest of the world is going to jump from 7.5 to 9 billion people, we are projected to remain stable at a population of around 450 million people. And the fifth and most maybe dramatic challenge is the fact that we are losing the race of artificial intelligence, of the fourth industrial revolution. We are missing the global race of new technologies. And the continent of the region that will control the new technologies in this century is the one that is going to dominate this century. So, how to address those 5 challenges? My conviction is that we should not be gradualist anymore. As Istvan mentioned before, Europe is more united than ever. This is a big achievement. We have made big steps ahead compared to 70 years ago, but also compared to 3 years ago. For instance, thanks to the pandemic, for the first time in history, we borrowed all together. We issued Eurobonds and we borrowed 750 billion euros in 2020-21 in order to launch this recovery fund. Germany, Greece, Italy, all together with a common interest rate. That was a revolution. For the first time, thanks to the pandemic, we are running a common European health policy, which is also a taboo, a national taboo that broke thanks to the pandemic. And also because of the Russian attack, for the first time now, we have a serious discussion about common European defense. All these things must be appreciated together with the expansion of the Eurozone, together with the expansion of the Schengen. These are gradual steps that lead to a more united Europe. However, I think that history is accelerating, things are moving very fast. I don't think we have any more time for a step-by-step approach. We should make a big leap ahead and turn these results of the Conference of the Future of Europe as an argument for a European Convention on creating a sovereign state. What do we mean a sovereign state? No more 27 separate EU member states. We are too small, each one of us, in the global map. Even Germany, the biggest, the strongest country, will be the 17th biggest population only in the world. However, altogether, if we become something like the United States of America, we will become the second biggest economy in the world, the second strongest army in the world, the second biggest geopolitical force in the world. In a world of empires, now we have the United States, we have a very aggressive Russia, and an ever assertive China. And then you have India, Indonesia, even the African Union rising as a big federations, as a big blocs around the world. We will have to compete with them. We cannot do it Hungary, Greece, Slovakia alone. Look at our countries on the global map. You can hardly distinguish them. On the top of it, I would not like to refer to my book. As a shock to me came The Economist of this week. I suggest you buy it and you read at least the letter with the title, How the World is Leaving Europe Behind. So right now, we don't realize it yet, but Europe is moving to the margins of the global order. Out of the 100 biggest companies in the world, right now, only 14 are Europeans. Out of the 20 top universities in the world, only 2 are Europeans. And out of the 50 top universities of the world, only approximately 10 are Europeans. That means we're losing the battle of resources, we are losing the battle of knowledge. We are staying behind in many issues. For instance, the United States is getting more protectionist. They are closing their markets and the investments to the other world. European companies cannot easily now access European business. We cannot easily access Chinese business because the Chinese themselves are becoming more protectionist. We, in the center of global trade, we insist, and I think we rightly do, for an open world trade, open opportunities for investments and doing business, sticking to the WTO rules, but the others do not follow. So 2 or 3 days ago, Scholz agreed with the Macron principle of let's buy and produce European. Let's gather ourselves together, let's enhance our internal market, let's support each other investments. So the trends are that Europe needs to get its acts together, needs to get its new energy policy together, because, okay, this winter we will be saved, our natural gas depots will be filled, but not necessarily next year. So we need to develop our own hydrogen strategy on renewable energy, strategy even on natural gas. In order to do so, we cannot act as 27 separate member states with 27 different budgets, 27 different debts or deficits. This book proposes that only a sovereign state can really bring all those fiscal powers together, can bring the energy grids together, can bring the health policies together. If so, we will manage to impose our position in the global order. To give you just one figure, I know it's not good to mention figure in speeches, but this is important to keep. If all of us as a sovereign state spent only 2% of our GDP on military power, we would have an annual budget of 300 billion euros. This is 5 times the budget of the Russian army. This is more than the budget of the Chinese army. By this, we could project enormous power in our region. By this budget, only with a European army, we could definitely defend Ukraine, and Ukraine would be part of Europe, and nobody would dare to touch it. With this, we could safeguard the freedom of the sea, of the sea routes, and also, it's not about the military uses only. We could also develop a very viable economy, because a lot of peacetime civilian technologies depend on the development of the military technologies. At the same time, we can have our common agricultural policy, ensure our food security. Remember, the rest of the world is growing bigger, richer, and hungrier. They will use their resources for their own use, not to export them to Europe. So they will export less to Europe and more expensive. So we need to restore our agricultural balance. We need to ensure that in Europe we produce and consume what we need. How can we achieve this? Only, again, by becoming one single state, with Ukraine, of course, because Ukraine is very important as a great source of agricultural production. We need to develop common social policies to reverse our demographic deficits. We need a common immigration policy. We don't have common immigration policy right now. Every member state follows different rules. But in this way, we cannot develop as a young society. Remember, right now, Europe is the oldest continent in the world in terms of average age. Our average age is 42, while the average age of Africa is less than 30. So guess to which of the two continents the future belongs to. Is it Europe or Africa? My bet would be on Africa. So we need also to engage in generous social policies, promoting preschool childcare, promoting pro-family budgets, but we cannot do it alone with national budgets. We need a robust European budget that will make sure that education, demographic policies, immigration policies, health policy, agriculture, food security, all come under a big umbrella of the second biggest economy of the world. I can speak forever about those issues, but my 15 minutes are already over. I will be ready to come back to you with questions. The proposals are in the book. If you're interested, I try to keep it only restricted in 10 chapters in 270 pages. So if interested, you can buy it with 10 euros, or even if you don't buy it, I'm happy to elaborate on some more issues later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Yannis. My original idea was to have a discussion after the 4 presentations, but we have still a little bit time, so I would insist on this microphone and ask one short question, and then we go further on. It's a wonderful vision, but is it realistic? I mean, there are, what I mentioned, there are many who would disagree with you or try to obstruct what you have in mind, and I think many federalists and pro-Europeans would agree with you, but how to implement these ideas in the next couple of years? Please take your answer relatively short.
It is realistic as long as we make it realistic. At the end of the day, it's about the will of the people. The book proposes a timetable for the next 5 years, that we go to draft a convention, to draft a constitution. It will be a convention of the European Parliament, national parliaments, and civil society. And after this preliminary work is done, then the willing member states should go for referendum and join this union. My book, in the book, I say that we definitely needed Germany and France in the core of this project, and then another at least 15 states should join. If they join, I think we are ready to create this federation. The rest, and this federation will be part of the European Union as we know today. So the rest of Europe could join them in the current formation of the European Union. So my answer briefly to you is yes. As the initial European Economic Community of the 50s with 6 original member states was a realistic project, and then it developed in what we know today as the European Union of 27 member states, I think we can move to the next step if we make the right political preparation. Of course, on this we will need a lot of strong allies. We will need big business, we will need the media to be on our side, and we ourselves, federalist or pro-European people, should become a little bit more active. At least this is, I'm doing my part. Thank you.